Hello, everyone, and welcome. Sorry about the technical difficulties. We got it all going now, but I want to thank you so much for joining us for our CSU Spur Community Assets on Campus virtual event. My name is Ryan Janicek with the CSU Alumni Association, and I hope the sun is shining brightly wherever you are tuning in from, and your Ram pride remains strong. We hope this program provides you some inspiration, and thanks so much for being here. I want to thank you all for participating tonight. Please put in the comments where you're watching from, and if you're an alum, what year you graduated. Wherever you're tuning in from, we are so glad to have you here. Many of our attendees are CSU Alumni Association members. Thank you so much for your membership. It makes events like these possible. To learn more about membership, feel free to scan this QR code right next to me. It'll give you more information, and also don't forget to download our mobile app. The CSU Alumni Association has many virtual events coming up, as well as many past recordings available to you. I'll include the links in the comments so you can see our upcoming events calendar, and don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel. In a moment, I'll put in the comments my contact information if you have any trouble with technology, and we'll be sending out a recording of this webinar and additional resources next week. So be on the lookout for that. Later on in the event, I'll also be putting a survey link in the comments section. So please, if you could, just take a moment and fill that out. We greatly appreciate your feedback on our virtual offerings. And now I'm excited to introduce tonight's speaker, Jocelyn Hiddle, CSU Systems Assistant Vice Chancellor for Spur Campus and Special Projects, primarily focused on helping to create the CSU Systems new Spur Campus at the National Western Center, and supporting campus sustainability goals across CSU's campuses. Following the presentation, we'll open it up for Q&A. And so feel free to drop those questions throughout the programming, and I'll interrupt Jocelyn during the program to get those answered right away. I'd like to welcome Jocelyn Hiddle.
Thanks, Ryan, and hello, everyone. Pleased to be with you tonight to tell you a little bit about the CSU Spur campus, and we'll be focusing a little bit more particularly on the spaces that are available for public use, which is, because of the nature of the Spur campus, actually most of the spaces that we have at the Spur campus. So I'll give you a bit of an overview for those of you who are not as familiar with the Spur campus and the programs and projects that will be a part of our work there. And then I'll dive in a little bit. We'll do some fly-throughs of the buildings and talk a little bit more about the public spaces and amenities. I also just want to mention that I myself am an alum of CSU, the College of Business, and I'm happy to be joined by all of you here this evening. So without further ado, I will move through the introductory slides about the CSU Spur campus. So the first thing I'll mention is that the Spur campus is a program and a project of the CSU system. So not only are we focusing on showcasing the work that is coming out of CSU Fort Collins, but also CSU Pueblo and global. It really is a place where we can talk about all of the programs that are happening across the system, as well as providing research and education and outreach opportunities for all of our institutions here in Denver. A new location, a satellite location in Denver for all of those things to happen here at this new place. So a little bit of information also about what we're planning on doing. So it is a system project, the Spur campus, but it also is different in that it is really focused on outreach to the general public, on transparency, on bringing people into our facilities here, and then taking advantage of having all of these people coming through our doors to then talk about CSU means and what the system actually is. So you see that there, showcasing the CSU system is part of what we want to do. We also are really interested in having the Spur campus be a place for public engagement. So K-12 field trips, families on weekends, tourists who are visiting Colorado. We want all of those folks to come through our doors and to engage with us in conversations, particularly around food, water, and health. And I'll say more about that in a minute. It's also a great place for convening. So you could imagine having alumni association events there, or conferences, or particular business meetings, or all kinds of different convening opportunities of various different sizes we're interested in hosting at the Spur campus. And with all of that public-facing space and programming, we also want to be sure that we are still focusing on teaching and research as well as the backbone of what CSU does. So there will always be teaching and research as a part of what happens at Spur. But really what we're excited about is how to connect that teaching and research to the public and really make those connections clear and kind of take the mystery out of careers that are focused on food, water, and health. And that teaching and research piece is a really important part of that. And then lastly, it's a place where we can really leverage our Denver location to increase the partnerships and collaborations that we're able to do that build on all of the collaboration that happens across the CSU system, but also really leveraging the fact that we're here in Denver, which is sometimes a bit more of a convenient space for those kinds of partnerships. So this will not be, these three words are familiar to all of you as alums of a land-grant institution. These are the pillars of a land grant: education, outreach, and research. And the Spur campus builds on these pillars in a variety of different ways. And you see that they all overlap a little bit with each other, with Spur really right there in the middle, where all of these programs can have a new place to be housed. And to reach more people. So on the education front, we have K-12 and a lot of outreach to field trips and families with young kids. That's a big part of what we're trying to do. Of course, the higher ed mission remains very strong and clear here. Continuing education, career advancement, professional education. How do we help non-traditional students advance where they are in their careers, particularly in our focus areas of food, water, and health. Outreach, again, there's some overlap there around K-12, and community engagement is a big piece of this as well. On the research front, there are unique laboratories that are part of the Spur campus and are places where different kinds of research than what can happen on our other campuses can take place. So let's move on then. I'll just mention quickly that we do have quite a few partners that are a part of the Spur campus project. We have some that were part of the original 5 partners that came together back in 2012 to reimagine the National Western Stock Show as a place for all of these organizations to come together with this joint vision around engaging with people, around creating a nexus around food, water, and health. Those original partners include the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, the City and County of Denver, History Colorado, obviously CSU, and the City and County of Denver. Since then, the National Western Center has been created, and they provide some overarching structure for the entire redevelopment project. We've also brought in new partners in Denver Water and the Dumb Friends League. Together we grow. Of course, actually, sorry, I missed an original partner in the National Western Stock Show, of course. And we fully expect that that list of partners will grow over time. So just a quick overview of the site itself. So you're looking down and roughly north. You see the South Platte River there on the western side of the site. And you can see our 3 new Spur facilities in the foreground. So the kind of upside down L is the hydro building focused on water. Connected to that with the bridge across the street is the Terra building focused on food and agriculture. And then just north of the hydro building is Vita, which is focused on human and animal health. Those other facilities that you see there are really focused on supporting the site as a continued event venue. So it will continue to host the National Western Stock Show, but also a variety of other events throughout the rest of the year. So just to orient you a little bit on the site, I'm not going to say much more about that. So the facilities that we will have are thematically focused. You'll notice we don't have a chemistry building and a biology building, but really these buildings are more focused on bringing a lot of different disciplines together to focus on challenges and solutions in these thematic areas, and also the intersection of these thematic areas. So we have water with our hydro building, food within the Terra building, and health within the Vita building. And we're also thinking about the intersections between those three topics as well. So I'll quickly give you a little bit of a programmatic list of what we're doing in each of those buildings. And then I want to talk in more detail about how it is that you can come and what spaces are available and how you can engage with these sites yourself, whether that's as a CSU alum or in your professional and personal lives. So the Vita building has a number of health-related programs, particularly around animal health. So we have a partnership with the Dumb Friends League. They will have a small animal clinic that is available within the Vita facility, and it will also be on show, which means you can actually watch the veterinarians at work. We also have equine sports medicine and rehabilitation as part of the equine focused part of this building, as well as equine assisted activities and therapies through the Temple Grandin Equine Center. And that is a really great example of the connections between human and animal health that we're focusing on within the Vita building. So I'll just show you a little bit of the Vita building itself, the renderings of what it will look like when it is complete. Again, you'll see a lot of glass. You'll see this with all three of our facilities as I go through them, because we want people to be able to see in. That public engagement piece is so important, that transparency, so you can see scientists at work, you can see what is happening inside of these buildings, and come inside, learn more, learn about careers in food, water, and health that young people might not be thinking about. And then we can also help connect people with educational pathways that help them to achieve their goals or to to enter into one of those careers that we're introducing them to. So the Vita building is under construction. We had a topping out ceremony back in February, which means we placed the last steel beam in the roof in February. If you'd like to see that, it is on the CSU Spur Facebook page. You can watch that topping out ceremony if you'd like. The Terra building is also well underway in terms of construction and has some of the similar unifying themes. Again, we want people to come in. There's transparency. There's that K-12 piece. There's that interest in making sure families and kids are coming through our doors. And there's also some formal education in the form of CAM's Ag Academy and our Ag Discovery Center within this building. As I mentioned early on, there's also research and teaching that is happening, and you can see that there with the soil and plant lab, with urban ag research and education, with the ag experiment station having a presence here, as well as a lot of demonstration of all of that research and work within the Terra building and in the exterior. So again, trying to connect people with scientists at work and real research as it happens. And this is what will be happening at Terra. You can see again, a lot of glass. It is physically connected to our hydro building to really make that connection between food and water explicit and to make it easy to get around. And I'll show you more of the interior of this building in a moment, but this is kind of the central atrium. It's a very tall building. Again, with a focus on urban ag. So we're talking about how you can grow things in a relatively small space. And this building is a really great demonstration of that in and of itself, because it's got a really small footprint. It is under construction. We had our topping out ceremony in April. This image is out of date, but every image of these buildings is out of date because there's so much work that happens each and every day on them. So if you want to stay even more up to date on the construction of the Spur campus facilities, our website has a construction cam that takes a picture every 15 minutes. So you can actually go back and watch kind of a time-lapse video of construction of the buildings, which is pretty fun, and also see the latest and greatest about where these buildings are right now. And last but not least, the hydro building is focused on water, but again has that that connection to food and that connection to health. It also has a variety of different spaces that are focused on research and teaching, and you can see those there, including a 2-story laboratory space, again, transparent, so people can see in and watch scientists at work. It has teaching labs for K-12 kids and for high school students. And it also has a variety of community spaces, and I will talk a little bit more about those in some detail now. I do not have a fly-through for this building like I do for the other two. So in order to tell you a little bit more about the public spaces in this facility, I'm going to stick with slides, and I'll take a slightly deeper dive. So that is our hydro building. This building is also under construction and is really focused on bringing people together around this water idea. And you can even see that in the exterior. So when our design team was thinking about how to tell the story with the architecture of this building, they thought about a river eddy, which is, that swirling bit of water on the side of a river where the water slows down, goes in different directions, and mixes. And so they were really inspired with this idea that this is a place where people come together, where they maybe slow down, where there's mixing of disciplines and people focused on water. So the side of the building is actually the cross section, the side view of a river eddy. And that was the inspiration for the exterior of the building. So we think it's really striking. We hope it will continue. We'll do the work, some of the work, to draw people into these buildings that we're hoping for. That's another view of that same building. The hydro building exterior, the landscape that you see there, we call that the backyard. This is a public space. We hope people are coming to this place and having a cup of coffee and sitting in this green landscape outside of our building. It is right on the banks of the South Platte River. So just at the lower part of the image, you see it sort of change. That's where it actually becomes part of the South Platte. You're right on the banks there. So it's a wonderful feature of this building, and it has an educational function in and of itself. So this is an older rendering as well. They change all the time, but these loops of walkways kind of outline the different watersheds of Colorado. So it's a place for us to tell the story of water in Colorado, all of the 8 watersheds that we have, and what it means to be a headwater state where all of the water flows out of Colorado. So it's an educational opportunity. It's a great public space. It's great for events. We can host concerts and weddings and other and receptions and other kinds of gatherings in this space. You can see there's some green lawn area on the north side. And lots of different opportunities for smaller gatherings throughout the backyard. So something to keep in mind in terms of the public spaces in these buildings. Hydro has 2 components. It has a new build, which was that L shape that you saw. And then it also has a portion of it that is the repurposing and renovation of an existing building. So on the left of this image, you see the interior of that repurposed building. It was a garage and a welder shop, and now we are transforming it into office space and artist studio space. It also has the central convening space as well that would be great for events, but it's also a place for you to just have a coffee meeting or sit down with some colleagues. On the right side of this image, you see the lobby of the Hydro new building. And this has a large screen that will be showing art when it's not being used for presentations or welcoming K-12 students. So that screen you see in the back is a curved screen. And you can also see there's a cafe space over on the right. And that is where we would be convening, where we'd be offering, your morning cup of coffee, your lunchtime sandwich, a place for you to come and take a break if you're with your kids and you have been touring all of our spaces, to come and sit down with them. So that's the lobby of the new building for Hydro. Also within Hydro, and then I will move on to the other buildings, is our primary convening space for formal events. So that there is a black box theater space that you can see in that upper image that has glass along one wall that opens out into the backyard and down toward the river. And it seats about 300 people when you have all of the the tiered seating pulled out and all of the chairs on the floor. It seats about 300 people. It's great for films. It's great for music and dance performances. It's great for lecture series. It's great for a conference plenary. So this is a space that we designed to be as flexible as possible to host as many different things as we could, knowing that we wanted to try to accommodate a really diverse set of interests and events in that space. So that is also within Hydro. I'll just mention that Hydro, also under construction, as I said, the McConnell Building is under restoration. You can see the work that they are doing to restore and just clean up really that beautiful wooden arched barrel roof ceiling that's part of that building. And we're really excited about that. And the new building will be coming out of the ground soon. It already is actually. And we're really excited for that. So just a quick note on timing. We do have some, Vita will be done in time for the January stock show. So we are working hard to plan for that and all of the opportunities that we can take advantage of having that many people around us and hopefully coming through our doors. We want to really leverage that event as a way to showcase what Vita is going to be. Terra, we think that at least the ground floor will be open in time for the National Western Stock Show in January. And then Hydro will be open in November of 2022. So we're really excited about all the progress that is being made there. As I mentioned, you can follow along with construction. You can get more information about each of these buildings. You can get more information about just the latest news that's coming out from CSU Spur at our website. You see all of that information there. Also, just a reminder, we are part of a larger campus, right? The CSU Spur buildings are 3 buildings within a larger redevelopment project called the National Western Center. And the National Western Center also has a ton going on. So there are buildings that will also be complete in time for January and a lot of programs that they're working on. So if you want to know what's happening with the National Western Center overall, that information is also there. So with that, I might pause and see if any of you have questions before I dive into sharing some videos, some fly-throughs. So I'll pause for a second and see what questions we may have gotten, if any. Okay, maybe nothing yet. Ryan, yes. I can't hear you, sorry.
Sorry about that. I got a question about events held in the center. Is there going to be any kind of showcased events such as like Jazz in the June that the community can expect annually, something like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I certainly hope so. We haven't gotten to the point yet where we have a specific community-oriented event that we are thinking about hosting, but I think it's a great idea. We want this to be a place that people think of when they think about things to do and places to go. So annual events are a great idea. I do know that there are things that are coming out of CSU, like our Water in the West Symposium or the Ag Innovation Summit, or some of those conference events that happen on an annual basis or every couple of years, that this is a great location for those to happen in Denver if people are interested in doing that. But the community-based ones, I think that's a great idea, and would love to see a lot of things that people are really used to coming here to do.
Mm-hmm. Someone was also wondering, would there be, it's not a campus, but there's not going to be any classes or anything, but will there be any admissions from any of the colleges ever in the area to kind of help the kids in that area?
Sure. So I think if I understand that question, what you're asking is, will we have resources to help maybe high school kids or their families or even younger as they're starting to think about college? Will we have resources that will help those students with the admissions process and learning more about CSU and thinking about whether or not they may want to come to one of our institutions? And the answer to that is definitely yes. So we're working on that now already. We have great collaborations with the local middle school, high school, and we'll continue to expand our relationships with schools in the area as well to make sure we're being responsive to their requests for information and what they really need.
Cool. Well, that's all I have for now, so I'll let you get back to it.
Sure. And just to clarify before I start playing these, your point about there won't be degrees that are granted from the Spur campus. You're right, but there will be classes that happen here that are either part of a degree program that's based on one of our other campuses. But this is just a nice, convenient location for some of those students to attend those classes, or maybe they come and they attend remotely the classes that are being broadcast from our respective campuses, but have that connection with other students that is so important. So there will be classes and some formal higher ed programming that happens here. It just all will be based at a home campus.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so I will share again my screen and show you all, let's see, a little bit more information about the building. And so I'm going to actually play a fly through of the building. Let me know, can you see that? I think maybe you can't. Try again. Oh, I think you can actually. Okay, so I will trust that Ryan will stop me if you all can't see this video, but this is the Vita Building. So this is the building that will be open in January. And you can see sort of the different layers and levels flying in that will make up this building. So much that's happening inside of it. All of that is dropping in from the sky right now. I love these fly-through videos. So the Vita Building, again, with all of that glass, so important because we want people who are just walking by or who are at the stock show, either for the stock show in January or who are at the complex or the National Western Center for other events, to know that they can look into this building and know what's going on and know that they are welcome. So as you come into the Vita Building, I'll just describe some of the programmatic elements. You see we have this large lobby space and this amazing mural that's being done by an artist as part of our 1% for Art program. That box you see in the middle is actually a mock veterinary hospital space. So kids can come and be a vet for a day and try to diagnose an animal that is with their classmates to try to figure out what's wrong and think about a treatment. And then as you continue, you can see that we have a number of different spaces looking into the Dumb Friends League clinical area, where you can watch veterinarians do surgeries or dental procedures or exams, ask questions. There'll be someone with a headset, and the veterinarians and technicians will have headsets inside and they can answer questions about what they're doing. As you move forward through the building, you end up here at this arena viewing area where people who have family members or others who are doing equine assisted activities and therapies can stay in that space and watch, or people can just watch what's happening in that arena space. And then one of the coolest things about this building, I think, and there's a lot of cool things about this building, but one of the cool things about this building is the connection to virtual reality. So again, this is a space where K-12 kids can come, where families can come, where they can have a virtual reality experience and explore anatomy, whether it's human or animal or other things that are really helpful to have that 3D experience can happen in that classroom. And then as we go up the stairs, you start to be able to look down into that mock veterinary space. You can see kind of that big open lobby that we're hoping invites a lot of folks in. All of these fly-throughs are missing all of our educational exhibits. So those are under development right now. So you'll see a lot of educational content that will be on the walls and in freestanding exhibits in some of these spaces. So then, as you can see, you can look down into that central arena space and watch what's happening down there as well. And then continue through the upper part to actually another on-show space. This is, again, looking down into that mock treatment area. And then as you keep going, there's another veterinary space from Dumb Friends League where you can actually watch more veterinarians at work. You can see that here. And move then more into the equine side of the building. So we've sort of touched on the small animal side, and then we move along this corridor. You can again look down into the arena space. That arena will be used a lot for equine assisted activities and therapies, also for equine sports medicine and rehabilitation, and potentially for other equestrian events as needed. and as available. So that's that space. I'm going to fast forward a little bit through some of this because it's a little bit kind of the back of house part, but you can see the horse stalls and spaces where other horses will be. And that what you just saw was looking down into the equine sports medicine and rehabilitation space, where you can see horses on underwater treadmills and really cool stuff within that equine sports medicine space. Again, with that visibility, really trying to connect young kids and families with scientists at work and try to take some of the mystery out of what it is that, what do veterinarians do? What does an equine sports medicine vet do? How could I do that? And then we start to sort of step out the educational pathway for them. This is what you would need to do if you wanted a career like that. So really excited about everything that is happening with the Vita Building and all of those spaces that are available for the general public to just come in and see scientists at work. So I will stop sharing again and I will pause again to see if there are any questions specifically about Vita and those public spaces that I just showed you there. I know we do have a bit of a delay, so I'll wait for another couple seconds to see if there are further questions, but if not, I will dive right in to our Terra building and show you a little bit more about Terra. Okay.
We just got one actually.
Great, okay.
Will the Western Water Program be at Spur this year?
I think you're probably referring to the Water in the West conference, and unfortunately, not yet. We are thinking that we're hoping for 2022. The building that Hydro, that building that has the space that would really be good for a conference, that black box theater space and breakout rooms in classrooms and things like that, won't be done until November of 2022. So we're hoping that we will host it there after the Hydro building opens. So we've got at least this year and maybe next year somewhere else, but then we will be at Hydro.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, and now I will share a little bit more about the Terra building. So as I mentioned, Terra is our food and agricultural building, and we will do some flying through of this building as well. It is connected to our Hydro building through that bridge that you see over the road. But one of the things that's really cool about this building is what's on the outside. So you just got a little fly through of the green roof and the greenhouse that is up on top. Again, it's this tall, skinny building. And so it's really all about small spaces in urban ag. So those greenhouses and green roof spaces up top are really a key part of talking about how you can do agriculture in a small space or in an urban area. In addition, the exterior of the building has some spaces, not so much that you see here, but at the other end for exterior container gardens and spaces for growing food outside, again, in kind of smaller spaces. So we'll be teaching techniques and getting K-12 kids involved with those exterior gardens as well. And then as you fly into this building, you can see that there's some transparency on the outside, again, so you can see what's happening inside. We move into this tall atrium space that I showed you before. On the right side of this, there's some controlled environment ag, so the tightly controlled stuff where humidity is controlled and lighting is controlled and the nutrients in the soil are really controlled. There's a demonstration in that lobby space. As you go down the hall, we move into a teaching kitchen area where you can see cooking classes are happening, nutrition classes might be happening. Maybe we have cooking competitions in that space. And again, that transparency being really important. We do have some seating outside there and some screens that are connected to cameras showing you what the instructor is doing, ways that you can kind of watch and engage with what's happening in that teaching kitchen. On the right-hand side of this image is a food laboratory. So this is where our researchers will be working with food industry folks who are developing new recipes or new techniques or new packaging methodologies, and that laboratory space will be available for them to do that. And then as you move up stairs, you can see that there is the soil, water, and plant pathology lab. So this is where members of the public, you could bring in a soil sample or a water sample or something from your tomato plant in your garden and say, what is this? Is there something wrong? How can I grow things better? And that laboratory will offer those services. You'll also see that there are quite a few educational spaces. Sorry, I'm blocking some of that view. So these are some of those K-12 exhibits that could be part of the Ag Discovery Center within the Terra building. Also could be used for events, receptions, that sort of thing, because they are kind of these fun museum-like spaces, but have beautiful views, and there's a lot of glass and a really great space. And then as you move upstairs, more educational space that opens out into the green roof and greenhouse space. You'll see here and there in this one, there's also these large art installations. Those are part of our 1% for Art program. So as a state-funded project, the Spur campus has 8 different public art installations that were selected as part of our 1% for Art program. And then last but not least, there is a patio event space up on the very top floor of that building, up on the 5th floor, that would be available for public use or for events. So that is the fly-through of the Terra building. And I hope that gave you a little bit more of a sense of some of the public spaces and amenities that are available in the Terra building as well. So with that, I am going to stop presenting and field any additional questions that you all might have about the Spur campus and the public spaces and amenities that are there.
I got a question about the typical hours for spaces. So it's for like young professionals and whatnot, or if someone wants to study and whatnot, what can they expect the hours to be for these facilities?
Yeah, great question. So we're still working out the details, and I think we'll understand better exactly when people really want to be there and want to be using that space better as we open and sort of observe how folks use the space. But our intention is that it's a very convenient place for people to do a variety of different things. So we are thinking about, Monday through Friday, it is open at normal business hours, but also beyond. We do have a cafe space there. So if you needed to grab something to eat, or you had a late night meeting or a study session, or there's a community meeting in one of our classroom spaces, or there's a film screening in the theater, our hours are going to need to really flex with what it is that people want to do. So I think you could expect us being open probably till 9 or later, depending on what kinds of events are happening in the particular spaces. And then, of course, it's the weekend is really when a lot of families might be interested in bringing their kids to come through and experience those educational programs. So we're working out the details still, but the idea is that it's a very open and accessible place. So our hours are going to be, different than typical, like 9 to 5.
And then do you guys have a number that you're kind of expecting annually for foot traffic and stuff in the new facilities?
Good question. So I mentioned that we're really thinking hard about January, and that's because the National Western Stock Show happens in January. It's about 3 weeks long, and for that event, there are usually about 750,000 visitors that come to the stock show. They come from across the Western US. I think it's something like 42 different states typically, and people from around the world. So we sort of think about January differently than the rest of the year a little bit, and think if we could even get 10% of the people who come to the stock show through our doors, we're talking about 75, 80,000 people just in January. And then over the course of the rest of the year, K-12 field trips coming through there. So, 60 kids a day, something like that. Families on the weekends, people who are there for other events. We roughly say maybe there'll be 250,000 people who come through over the course of a year. But again, we'll learn a lot more, obviously, once we're open.
Very cool. Let's see, I'll check our other streaming areas, see if we have some questions. But yeah, anyone feel free to drop questions in the chat. Let's see, I'm not seeing any right there.
Okay. Well, if there aren't any other questions, it means maybe I just gave too much information to everybody and they're still processing it all. But I'm certainly happy to answer any other questions that you all might have. I think we can share my contact information. We're happy to field your questions. As I mentioned, the Spur website is a great place to get continued updates and information about our progress and about the programs that will live at Spur and ways to get in touch with us. I should mention we have an education director who is working to put together all the educational content, particularly for K-12 audiences, Catherine Van Zor. And we also have recently hired a general manager who will be helping to run these buildings, Michelle Kelly, and they are both resources for questions that you might have about how the facilities will be run, how to book events, how to be a part of the Spur campus, and as well as that educational programming. So all of us are ready to answer any additional questions that you all may have after this evening.
Well, if anyone has any other questions right now, we can get those answered. Otherwise, I'll include obviously Jocelyn's information right here. She's always willing to answer any questions you may have, and this is recorded, so feel free to share it out with any of your friends and family that couldn't attend tonight and want to see what's going on, because it's an ongoing process and always something opening up soon. So I just wanted to thank Jocelyn tonight for giving us another inside look on what's going on and all the cranes and whatnot going on over there in construction. It's ever changing. So I just want to thank you for doing that tonight. And I'll include our survey in the chat real quick. So if anybody wants to complete our survey, please do that. Let us know other subjects you want to know about Spur. We are working on a series, another part of this Spur series on, just as mentioned by Jocelyn, the art. Art is a big thing on Spur, so we're working on that, and any other aspects that you want to see, we're gonna make sure we get those covered, because it's a big campus.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank you so much for taking your time to spread the word on Spur, and thank you so much, Jocelyn.
My pleasure, and we really look forward to welcoming all of you to the Spur campus for whatever reason brings you there, and hopefully when we can all gather in person, that the Alumni Association will be gathering there as well, and so looking forward to seeing you all.
Thank you so much for coming tonight, everybody, and take care.
Thanks all.